I'm David, I'm 34, and for most of my adult life, I've been the one holding my family together with duct tape and a credit card. I guess you could say I'm the responsible one in the eyes of the world, but to my family, I've always been the bank with a smile. If something needed fixing, I fixed it. If someone needed help, I helped. Birthdays, weddings, school fees, broken cars, rent accidents, I was the one they came to. Not because I was the wealthiest, far from it, but because I never said no. That was my mistake. Saying yes made me useful, and being useful kept me close to them. Or so I thought. It wasn't always like this. My parents raised me with the idea that family comes first, no matter what. My dad died when I was 15, and after that, I became the unofficial man of the house. My mom crumbled emotionally for a while, and my younger sister, Vanessa, leaned on me for everything, from rides to school to late-night talks about boys and breakups. I never minded. She was 5 years younger than me, and at the time, I figured taking care of her was just part of being a good big brother. But something shifted after college. She came back with this new, inflated confidence, like the world owed her something. And suddenly, every gesture I made became an expectation. My generosity turned into her entitlement. Vanessa is 29 now, still living like a socialite on an entry-level salary. She's the kind of person who complains about the wrong brand of almond milk and says things like, "I could never date someone who drives a Toyota," while forgetting she drives a car I helped her finance. And when I say helped, I mean I co-signed and paid the first 2 years of payments. She's got a circle of friends who all look like they're constantly in a music video, but somehow none of them seem to have actual jobs. I don't know if they're influencers or just good at pretending to be. Either way, I'm always the one footing the bill when we go out as a family. My mom, bless her heart, is complicated. She's sweet in public, supportive on the surface, but has a passive-aggressive streak that could slice through steel. Every time I bring up feeling overwhelmed or needing boundaries, she responds with something like, "You know your father would have wanted us to stick together. You're the strong one, David." And just like that, I'm guilt-tripped back into silence. There's this unspoken rule in my family. Vanessa can mess up, make demands, skip responsibilities, and it's brushed off as Vanessa being Vanessa. But if I even hint at frustration, I'm overreacting, being selfish, or somehow ungrateful for having a family who loves me. This year, I volunteered to host Christmas at my house. It wasn't really a discussion. It was more like Vanessa saying, "You should host. Your place is the nicest," and everyone else nodding in agreement before I could get a word in. Truthfully, I didn't mind at first. I have a decent place, 3 bedrooms, modern kitchen, cozy living room, and I'd spent the last few years making it feel like home. After a rough breakup earlier this year, I figured maybe hosting Christmas would give me that warm sense of togetherness I'd been missing. I thought, what better way to reconnect with everyone, create good memories, maybe finally feel appreciated again? I went all in. I'm talking full decor, wreaths, garlands, lights on the house, custom stockings with everyone's name, and even a themed centerpiece for the dining table. I ordered a catered holiday meal from a local gourmet chef, spent hours organizing the seating chart, because Vanessa once flipped out over being seated too far from the action at Thanksgiving. And most significantly, I dropped $12,000 on gifts. I don't say that for sympathy, but to paint the full picture. I wanted it to be perfect. Not just good, not just okay, perfect. Because deep down, I hoped that if I made it special enough, if I gave enough, they'd finally see me. Not just the wallet. Me. Vanessa sent me her wish list in mid-November. It was a PDF. A literal, branded PDF. She included links, prices, and descriptions like, "Must be this color," or "Not this brand." Oh no. I stared at it, stunned. It wasn't a wish list, it was an order form. My mom asked for a little something sentimental, but kept texting me subtle hints about how she'd been eyeing those smart home devices everyone has these days. My cousins, who rarely text me otherwise, suddenly began dropping messages like, "Yo man, can't wait for Christmas. Heard you go all out." Even my Uncle Peter, who hasn't come to Christmas in 5 years, confirmed he'd be there, as long as there's prime rib and eggnog. I was hemorrhaging money and barely sleeping, but I kept telling myself it would all be worth it. The week before Christmas, the house was finally done up. Sparkling lights, scented candles, snowflake window clings. Pinterest would have been proud. I was in my living room late one night, wrapping the last of the gifts, Vanessa's $800 Dyson hair tool set, and sipping hot cocoa when I heard laughter from the guest room. Vanessa was staying over early, claiming she wanted to help with the preparations. In reality, she spent most of the time scrolling on her phone and taking selfies in front of the tree. That night, I passed her door on the way to the kitchen and heard her talking on the phone, the kind of loud whisper people use when they want to be overheard but still want plausible deniability. At first, I wasn't trying to eavesdrop. I just froze when I heard my name. "No, seriously," she was saying, followed by a fake, breathy laugh. "We only pretend to like him because he pays for everything. I swear, it's like his whole personality is buying stuff. It's kind of pathetic." I just stood there. My heart thudded in my chest, and I couldn't move. I felt like a statue. My brain started doing this weird thing where it tried to explain it away. Maybe I misheard. Maybe she's talking about someone else. Maybe she didn't mean it. But then she laughed again and added, "I mean, don't get me wrong. I love how generous he is. But like, if he stopped paying for stuff, what would even be the point?" That one hit me like a slap. She wasn't talking to a stranger. She was on speakerphone with one of our cousins, Ashley. I heard her chime in, "Right? He's like the family ATM. I don't even think he realizes it. So sad." They both laughed again. Then Vanessa said, "Ugh, I just hope he got me the right version of the Dyson. If it's the cheap one, I'm leaving it behind." I backed away slowly and sat in the dark hallway for what felt like hours. My stomach was in knots. I couldn't believe what I'd just heard, but there it was, echoing in my mind. We only pretend to like him because he pays for everything. The people I was bending over backward for, the people I thought I was making happy, were mocking me behind my back like I was some clueless clown. I didn't sleep that night. My mind kept going in circles, replaying every moment from the last few years. Every holiday, every time they joked about how I always pick up the tab. Every awkward silence when I tried to bring up feeling tired or needing help. Every time Vanessa talked down to me in that sugar-sweet voice she used when she wanted something. And every time I mistook it for love. By morning, I'd made a decision. A quiet, cold decision that settled in my chest like a block of ice. I was done being the fool. I had 5 days until Christmas. And for once in my life, I wasn't going to say yes. I was going to vanish. But not before giving them exactly what they deserved. For the next few days, I pretended like nothing was wrong. I smiled. I nodded. I cooked meals. I even let Vanessa use my Amazon Prime account to order last-minute stocking stuffers, which, unsurprisingly, were just more things for herself. Inside, though, I was rotting. Every laugh from her sounded fake. Every "thank you" felt like manipulation. I watched her move through my house like she owned it, parading around in her designer loungewear, treating me like a butler. And the more I noticed it, the more it became clear, this wasn't new. I just hadn't let myself see it before. 2 days after I overheard that phone call, I was out on the porch setting up the fake snow machine Vanessa insisted we needed for the aesthetic when my cousin Ashley arrived early. She brought her boyfriend and made a big show of squealing when she saw the decorations. "OMG, it's like a movie set," she said, whipping her phone out to take Instagram stories without even saying hi to me. Her boyfriend gave me a half-hearted bro nod, then followed her inside. I stayed outside, pretending to fiddle with the power cord, and heard her say loudly, "I told you, he's so extra. Wait till you see the gifts. He probably spent 5 figures again. Watch, he'll cry if we don't do a group photo or something. He's, like, super emotional now." I didn't cry. Not then. But I wanted to. Instead, I turned off the fake snow machine, walked back into the house, and told myself to just get through the next 3 days. I had a plan now. I just had to hold the mask on long enough. By the time Christmas Eve rolled around, the house was full. Vanessa had invited 3 of her friends without asking me. They were staying in my guest room in my office, and I caught one of them using my toothbrush and then laughing about it when I confronted her. "Relax," she said, giggling. "It's not like I gave you cooties." Vanessa overheard and rolled her eyes. "David, don't be such a germaphobe. It's Christmas. Chill." That same night, my Uncle Peter stumbled in drunk around 10 p.m. and knocked over the nativity set I'd spent an hour arranging. He laughed and blamed the carpet. When I started cleaning it up, he stood there watching and said, "Man, you've really gone soft since high school. You were cooler when you had a backbone." I didn't even respond. I just kept putting the little porcelain pieces back in place. I barely slept that night. I couldn't. I lay awake in bed listening to muffled music, laughter, and the sound of people opening the fridge like it was their own. My house didn't feel like mine anymore. It felt like I was renting it to a group of strangers who saw me as the staff. I didn't feel like a host. I felt like a ghost. Then came the moment that broke me. Christmas morning. I woke up early, before everyone else, and quietly loaded the last of my bags into the car. My flight was at 10:45 a.m. to Nassau. I'd booked it 2 nights ago, along with a beachfront villa for the week. It cost me a fortune, but at that point, I didn't care. It was either that or scream at everyone and burn every bridge in the family. And strangely, I didn't want a scene. I wanted silence. I wanted to disappear so thoroughly that they wouldn't even know where to aim their fake concern. But before I left, I had to see what they'd do. Call it petty, call it closure, I needed to know. So I stayed just long enough to hear Vanessa walk down the stairs and say, "Ugh, where's the coffee?" I thought David always made it. I was standing just out of sight in the hallway, fully dressed, keys in hand. She was in her silk robe, scrolling her phone, and not even looking around, just talking at the room. Then she called out, louder, "David? Hello? Where's breakfast? Are you still in bed?" No one else had stirred yet. I waited. She walked into the kitchen and saw the empty counter. The fridge was still full. I hadn't touched the catered food or anything. But the coffee pot was dry. The tree lights were off. "What the hell?" she muttered. Then louder, "David." I stepped into the room. "I'm leaving." She blinked at me. "What? Leaving where?" I smiled. Not the kind of smile that says I'm happy. The kind that says I'm done. "Vacation," I said. "Merry Christmas." Her jaw dropped. "You're joking." "Nope. You can't just leave. Everyone's coming over. The presents. The food. You said you were hosting." I didn't answer. I just walked past her, opened the front door, and stepped outside. Behind me, I heard her say, "Wait. David, be serious. Are you actually David?" I got in my car and drove away. I didn't look back. But that's not the betrayal. Not yet. That came 2 hours later, at the airport. I was sitting at the gate, sipping an overpriced smoothie and watching the snow fall through the glass, when my phone buzzed. It was a text from Vanessa. "Vanessa, where did you put the gifts? You better not have taken them with you." I stared at it for a moment, then typed back, "They're under the tree." I lied. They weren't. Before I left, I'd moved all the presents into the locked storage closet in my basement. Every last one. Even the stocking stuffers. About 15 minutes later, my phone exploded. Call after call. First Vanessa, then my mom, then Ashley, then even Uncle Peter. I ignored them all. Then the texts started pouring in. David, what is going on? Everyone is here and the house is locked? Vanessa, you locked the door? Are you insane? We're outside in the cold. Ashley, wow. Just wow. This is how you treat family? Uncle Peter, open the damn door or I'm calling the cops. I leaned back in my chair and took a deep breath. I felt calm. For the first time in days, maybe weeks. I wasn't panicked. I wasn't guilty. I just felt done. Then I took out my phone and posted a single picture to our family group chat. It was a selfie, me on the airport tarmac, the sun rising behind me, palm trees swaying in the distance. Me, Merry Christmas from the Bahamas. Silence. Then, chaos. Vanessa, are you kidding me? This is cruel, David. Ashley, hope your beach is worth it. We are freezing. Uncle Peter, you always were a selfish brat. Now the whole family sees it. I locked my phone, put in my headphones, and boarded the plane. But even that wasn't the peak. The real betrayal, the one that made me realize just how broken everything had become, came later that evening. Once I landed in Nassau, checked into the villa, and finally opened my phone again. There were over 50 unread messages, a dozen missed calls, and one voicemail that stopped me cold. It was my mom. Her voice was shaking, not with sadness. With rage. "You embarrassed me in front of everyone," she snapped. "You humiliated your sister. After everything we've done for you. After all the years we've supported you when you were nothing. This is how you repay us? By running off like some spoiled child and playing victim? You're not the generous man you think you are, David. You're just a sad little boy who needs to buy love because he never learned how to earn it." I sat there, frozen. Not because her words hurt, but because I realized she believed them. All of them. That I owed them. That my pain didn't matter. That my money was my only worth. That they were the victims. That was the moment the switch flipped in my head. They didn't just take me for granted. They resented me for it. And that changed everything. When I finally took off my shoes and stepped barefoot onto the cool tile floor of the villa, I didn't feel triumphant. I didn't feel victorious or rebellious. I felt hollow, like I had just finished screaming underwater. The sun was bright, the waves were soft, and there was this soft Caribbean breeze that rustled the palms outside. But inside, I was unraveling. I dropped my bag near the door and sat on the edge of the bed without turning on the lights. I must have sat there for an hour, replaying my mom's voicemail over and over again in my head. "You're just a sad little boy who needs to buy love." That line echoed, not because it was true, but because it was said with so much certainty, as if she'd rehearsed it, as if she believed she'd done me a favor all those years by letting me carry their burdens. I spent the rest of that Christmas day in silence. No beach walk, no room service, no celebratory rum punch. I didn't even unpack. I lay on my side, fully clothed, phone face down, and stared at the ceiling fan. I thought about every moment over the last 10 years where I'd handed over my time, my energy, and my money like a receipt for belonging. All those holidays I worked overtime to afford something special. All those birthdays I overcompensated for because no one else could be bothered. The graduation party I paid for when Vanessa finished college, complete with the photo booth, catered sushi, and DJ, which I never got a thank you for. The mortgage payments I covered when Mom just needed a little help during that rough patch. I'd built a house of cards made of approval, and it collapsed with one voicemail. The next morning, I woke up around 9 a.m. to a blinding sunrise flooding the villa. My head hurt, not from alcohol, but from emotional hangover. My phone buzzed on the nightstand, but I ignored it. I knew what it would be. More guilt, more anger, more twisted logic where I was the villain. I wasn't ready for it. Instead, I showered, put on clean clothes, and stepped outside for the first time since arriving. And just like that, I was hit with the scent of salt, the gentle crashing of waves, and a breeze that didn't judge me. The villa's backyard opened directly onto a private stretch of beach. No tourists, no music, just sand, sea, and me. I stood there for a long time, my feet buried in the sand, staring out at the horizon. That's when it hit me. No one knew where I was. No one could demand anything. No one could walk through a door and interrupt. I didn't have to explain myself. I didn't have to perform. I was free, and it terrified me, because I didn't know who I was outside of them. That was rock bottom. Not the betrayal, not the texts, not the voicemail. The rock bottom was realizing that my identity was so entangled with their approval that I wasn't sure what I even wanted out of life. I'd been living like a supporting character in their stories, providing, assisting, covering. But what was my story? So I started small. That day, I made breakfast. Just for me. 2 scrambled eggs, a mango, toast, and coffee. I plated it like I was on a cooking show. I even put a flower in a little glass by the plate. Then I sat on the patio and ate every bite in silence, savoring it like a ritual. No one to impress. No one to entertain. Just me. That afternoon, I went for a swim. Not a workout. Not a goal. Just floating. Just being. And it felt weird at first, this slowing down. This not producing something, or solving something, or paying for something. But then, for the first time in what felt like years, I felt light. The next few days were a blend of stillness and rediscovery. I read books I hadn't touched in years. I journaled. I even drew one night. Badly, but it reminded me that once upon a time, before the family chaos, I wanted to be an illustrator. That version of me had been buried under invoices and expectations. I didn't post anything to social media except a single photo on day 3, a seashell in my palm, captioned, "Not everything beautiful has to be earned." I didn't tag anyone. I didn't check comments. It wasn't for them. And slowly, the messages began to die down. The anger fizzled. The drama moved on without me. Vanessa posted some dramatic story about being abandoned on Christmas, clearly trying to paint me as some heartless monster. But I didn't engage. I didn't even watch it. Let them craft whatever narrative they needed to feel like victims. I knew the truth now. They didn't just take advantage of me. They needed me to stay small, to stay grateful, so they could feel bigger, better, more important. And any time I tried to set boundaries, they twisted it into guilt. But I wasn't playing that game anymore. The turning point came on the 5th night. I was walking down the beach at sunset, sandals in hand, watching a group of kids build a sandcastle while their dad snapped photos. They were laughing, covered in sand, completely in the moment. And it hit me like a wave. I wanted that. Not necessarily the family part, but the freedom to build something for myself. Something joyful. Something real. When I got back to the villa, I made a list. I titled it, Things I Gave Away Too Easily. It started with obvious stuff. Money, time, holidays. Then it got deeper. Self-worth, boundaries, creative dreams. By the end of the page, I was crying. Not because I was sad. Because I was angry. Angry at myself for how long I let it happen. Angry that I thought loyalty meant silence. Angry that I kept shrinking so others could feel comfortable. And right beneath the list, I wrote in big, all-caps letters, "No more." I spent the next day doing something radical. I wrote a resignation email. Not from a job, but from my role in the family. I didn't send it, but I needed to see it. I wrote, effective immediately, I am stepping down as the family caretaker, emotional punching bag, and financial backup plan. I am not angry. I'm just finished. I hope you find peace. I'm finding mine. And I meant it. When I returned home a week later, the house was exactly as I'd left it. Untouched. Clean. Peaceful. It was like a reset button had been pressed. I walked through the living room, looked at the still-decorated Christmas tree, and chuckled. I never took the ornaments down. I just unplugged the lights and left them. A monument to the version of me that died on Christmas morning. The next day, I unlocked the basement storage closet, took the boxes of gifts out, and returned almost everything. Some stores gave me full refunds. Some didn't. I didn't care. The act of undoing it was cathartic. One by one, I erased the financial breadcrumbs I had left in everyone's lives. I stopped answering Vanessa's texts. I left the family group chat. When my mom called me a week later, I let it ring out. Then I sent her a short message. I need time to heal. Please respect that. She didn't reply, but for the first time, her silence didn't hurt. In the months that followed, I started therapy. I picked up a sketch pad again. I joined a local hiking group and actually made a few friends who liked me for me, not what I could offer. And slowly, I started to feel like a person again, not a prop in someone else's play. I won't lie and say it was easy. I had moments of doubt, moments of loneliness, holidays that felt weird and quiet, but they were mine, and I filled them with things that mattered, solitude, real joy, and people who gave as much as they took. One of those people was a woman named Marissa. We met at a small art exhibit downtown. She asked me about the sketch I was holding, and we ended up talking for an hour. She didn't know my family, didn't care about my bank account. She laughed at my jokes, asked about my favorite book, and when I told her about the Bahamas and the whole saga, she didn't pity me. She said, "Good. It's about time someone did what you did." And in that moment, I realized something profound. Rock bottom wasn't the end. It was the door, the one I had to hit, so I'd finally stop knocking on all the wrong ones. And now I'm walking through the right ones. I didn't set out looking for revenge. Not at first. In the beginning, it was just about peace, distance, healing, learning who I was without playing the role they'd carved out for me. But the deeper I dug into my own life, the more I started to see the rot clearly. I wasn't just used. I was manipulated. My kindness had been turned into currency. My generosity into obligation. And the people who were supposed to love me the most had quietly built an entire ecosystem around draining me dry. And what truly snapped something in me? It wasn't the voicemail or the avalanche of guilt texts, or even Vanessa's Instagram post where she played the abandoned little sister card while posing in front of my locked front door with some caption like, "Guess we know who family really is." That was just her usual performance art. No, what changed everything was what came a month later. I got a letter in the mail, real paper, stamped and sealed, from my mother. It wasn't an apology. It was a request. Inside was a typed message, complete with bullet points and bold text. She was planning Vanessa's 30th birthday party, and she wanted me to host it at my house. Not if I wanted to. Not if I was available. She wrote, "We are assuming you'll do it, since your place is the nicest and you've always been the most organized." She listed estimated headcount, 40 plus, expected menu themes, and even suggested decor packages I could purchase. She included a PS at the bottom. "Please don't be dramatic like Christmas. Vanessa's been through enough." I stared at that letter for 10 minutes, then laughed. I laughed so hard I had to sit down. It was that kind of laugh you let out when the insanity becomes so clear, it's almost funny. Almost. And then I got very, very quiet. I wasn't going to burn bridges. No, I was going to rebuild one, so I could walk them across it and pull the support beams out from underneath them at the perfect moment. That night, I started the plan. It wasn't about vengeance in the flashy movie sense. No dramatic confrontations. No shouting matches. I didn't want chaos. I wanted clarity. I wanted them to feel the ground shift under their feet so subtly they didn't notice until it was too late. Because the best revenge isn't loud. It's silent. It's strategic. And it starts with access. I wrote my mother back. Handwritten, on thick ivory stationery. Dear Mom, thank you for the letter. I appreciate the thought you put into Vanessa's birthday plans. I'd be happy to help host, as long as a few ground rules are respected. I'll handle the house, but I'd like to delegate the gift coordination, decorations, and entertainment. Let me know if that works. Warmly, David. It was the kind of message that looks polite on the surface, but is laced with quiet control. I was saying yes, but on my terms. I knew they'd accept it. They always did, as long as the result made them look good. And right on cue, Mom texted me 2 days later. So glad you're back to normal. Vanessa will be so touched. Back to normal. That phrase sat with me like a bitter pill. They still didn't get it, but they would. Over the next few weeks, I prepared like a general. I made spreadsheets. I mapped out roles. I designed the guest list, not to include who they wanted, but who I needed. See, Vanessa had a wide social circle, but many of those people weren't close. I cherry-picked the ones who liked drama, the ones who loved to talk, the ones who would spread a story like wildfire if it was juicy enough. Then I started rebuilding a relationship, with precision. First came Ashley. She was shallow, yes, but she was also always hungry for gossip and validation. I took her to brunch, paid for everything, and acted like I was seeking her advice about the party. I dropped hints about how much I'd spent over the years, how Vanessa never really thanked me, and how this might be the last big thing I do before stepping away. I played it humble, vulnerable, just enough for her to sniff a secret, but not enough to know what it was. Then I reached out to my cousin Liam, the black sheep of the family, the one who always got talked over at gatherings. He was awkward, yes, but sharp, and, crucially, loyal to people who gave him time. I met him for coffee, asked about his job, listened, and then I asked if he wanted to help me film the party. Said I was trying to make a short family documentary. He lit up. He'd studied film in college and always felt overlooked. Perfect. I bought him a tiny 4K camera and some audio gear. Just shoot everything, I told him. Candid footage, interviews, behind the scenes, whatever. We'll cut it down later. He had no idea what I really wanted. Then came the guest list. I made sure to invite a few people from Vanessa's past. Not enemies, but people she talked about behind their backs. People she had once used and ghosted. An old roommate she stiffed on rent. A former friend she called trashy for buying a knockoff handbag. I invited them with charm and grace, using phrases like, Vanessa wanted to reconnect with everyone from her journey, and we're making this really meaningful. Most of them RSVP'd yes. Curiosity is a powerful thing. The party planning moved ahead like a machine. Vanessa, of course, barely lifted a finger. She sent me Pinterest boards and texts like, can we do an all-white theme? I wanted to feel, like, expensive. I said yes to everything. I didn't push back. I wanted her comfortable. I wanted her convinced I'd slipped right back into the old role. Meanwhile, I was planting seeds everywhere. I started casually sharing old receipts in private conversations. Did you know I spent $3,200 on her graduation party? Crazy, right? Or, I once covered her rent for 4 months when she didn't tell anyone she'd lost her job. I never sounded bitter, just amused, bewildered, like someone finally connecting the dots out loud. And those dots, they spread. Ashley texted me late one night. Vanessa told me you never helped her financially. Is that true? I responded with a screenshot of a Venmo transfer labeled Rent, April. Silence. Then, yikes. She said you were just trying to buy her love. I didn't respond. I didn't have to. By the time the party week rolled around, the web was fully woven. I had Liam ready to film, Ashley primed with curiosity, and Vanessa completely unaware that she was walking into a house rigged for revelation. And then, 3 days before the party, I pulled the final string. I scheduled a delivery to my front door. A beautiful white envelope, hand-lettered. Inside was a printed speech. The speech I was going to give at the party. It was addressed to Vanessa. Inside, it started with praise. Sweet memories. Childhood stories. how much she'd meant to me growing up. Then, halfway through, it shifted. It listed every dollar I'd spent. Not angrily, just factually, just documented. Then it spoke about love, and how real love doesn't come with conditions. How gratitude isn't about repayment, but recognition. And how sometimes the people who give the most are the ones you see the least until they're gone. I had no intention of reading it aloud, but I wanted her to wonder. And that was the beauty of it all. She read it. Ashley confirmed it. Vanessa called her crying the night she received it. He's going to embarrass me, she said. He's going to make me look ungrateful. And Ashley, God bless her, responded, well, are you? By the time the day of the party arrived, the stage was set. The house looked perfect. White roses, crystal glasses, soft music. I was dressed in a crisp navy suit, smiling, hosting, pouring champagne like nothing had changed. But everything had. And by midnight, the mask would shatter. And Vanessa? She'd finally see the mirror I'd been quietly polishing for months. The party started like a dream. Guests arrived in waves, dressed in whites and silvers, posing for photos in front of the V30 balloon arch in my backyard. The champagne flowed. The catered sushi boats were a hit. A violinist played near the pool. Vanessa walked around like she owned the world, hugging people she hadn't spoken to in years, dropping names, tossing her hair over her shoulder like she was walking a red carpet. And I played the perfect host. I smiled, refilled drinks, thanked people for coming. I was warm, present, and quiet, never drawing too much attention, just enough to keep everyone comfortable. I greeted Vanessa like nothing had ever happened between us. She acted surprised, like she wasn't sure whether I'd still be cold from Christmas, but she hugged me anyway and whispered in my ear, "You didn't have to go all out like this, but I'm glad you did." I just smiled and said, "Of course. You deserve it." She beamed. She had no idea. Liam, meanwhile, was floating through the crowd, camera in hand, capturing candid footage just like I asked. He was a natural, asking little questions here and there, panning over decor, filming clinking glasses, impromptu "What do you love most about Vanessa?" soundbites. It was all part of the setup. Around 9 p.m., we gathered everyone around the pool for the toast. Vanessa stood on the raised stone platform in front of the fire pit, arms open wide, bathed in candlelight. She looked stunning, I'll admit. Long white satin dress, hair curled, makeup flawless. She tapped her glass. "I just want to say," she began, her voice already slightly slurred from the champagne, "this is honestly one of the most amazing nights of my life. And I owe it all to my big brother. David, you've always gone above and beyond for me. You're like, I don't know, my guardian angel or something." Polite laughter rippled through the crowd. She turned to me and raised her glass. "Thank you for this. Seriously, I don't say it enough, but I love you." Everyone clapped. Someone shouted, "Speech." Others joined in. She turned back to me, giggling. "Come on, David. Say something." I stepped forward slowly, feeling my heartbeat in my ears. Liam was behind me, camera rolling. I cleared my throat. "Vanessa, you've always had a way of making an entrance." She laughed. The crowd laughed. I smiled gently and continued. "I'm not usually the one holding the microphone, but tonight, I wanted to do something a little different. Because turning 30? It's a milestone, and you only get one shot to say something that really matters." The crowd went quiet. I reached into my pocket and pulled out a small stack of envelopes. Thick, cream-colored, tied with a gold ribbon. "Tonight, I want to give you a gift that isn't on your wish list. In fact, it's not just for you." I turned to the crowd. "It's for all of you." Vanessa shifted on her heels. "Wait, what's going on?" I handed a few envelopes to Liam and motioned for him to begin passing them around. Inside these envelopes are receipts. Literal and emotional. People started murmuring. These are records of the last 10 years. What I've spent. What I've covered. What I've forgiven. There's no shame in them. No bitterness. Just truth. Because sometimes we get so comfortable being taken care of, we forget to ask what it's costing the other person. Vanessa stepped forward, eyes wide. "David, what is this?" I met her gaze. A mirror. Some guests were already reading. The whispers spread like wildfire. Liam stood near the pool with his camera aimed at Vanessa as she flipped open one of the envelopes and scanned the pages. Her face drained of color. What is this supposed to be?" she said, her voice rising. "This is petty. This is manipulative. You're making me look like a monster." "No, I said calmly. You did that all by yourself. I'm just turning on the lights. Gasps rippled through the crowd. A few people were shaking their heads. One of Vanessa's old roommates, Nina, held up a page. Is this real? You paid her rent for 6 months. 10, I said softly. The 6th was just the last I could prove. Vanessa's jaw tightened. Why are you doing this? On my birthday? Because you made Christmas about yourself, I said. And when I finally stood up for myself, you told everyone I was heartless, that I abandoned the family, that I was pathetic. I overheard the phone call. Vanessa, I heard you say you only pretend to like me because I pay for everything. Silence. And then Ashley, from the crowd, said under her breath, he's not lying. Vanessa turned to her. Excuse me. Ashley crossed her arms. You've said worse. Don't act surprised. You've been using David for years, and you know it. The guests looked around uncomfortably. One by one, the illusion was unraveling. People began backing away. Some returned the envelopes to me quietly, nodding in quiet understanding. Others looked at Vanessa with a mixture of pity and disbelief. My mother stepped forward, trying to save face. David, this was cruel. I don't know what you think this accomplishes. I think it accomplishes freedom, I replied. For the first time in my life, I'm not hiding behind my own generosity. I'm showing my work. And if that makes people uncomfortable, so be it. She tried to speak again, but I held up a hand. No more guilt, Mom. No more manipulation. I'm not the family vault. I'm not your safety net. I'm a human being, and I'm done being quiet about how much I've given. Then I turned to the guests, holding my glass. To anyone here who ever wondered if I was okay, thank you. I'm doing better now than I ever have. And I don't need applause. I just need space. I raised the glass. To truth. A few people clinked theirs in return. Others stood frozen. Vanessa looked stunned. Her bottom lip quivered, not from sadness. From rage. You ruined my birthday, she spat. No, I said. I redefined it. And with that, I walked back inside. I didn't slam the door. I didn't shout. I just left them there, blinking in the glow of fairy lights and the weight of exposure. Later that night, after the guests trickled out and the house was silent again, I stood by the window and watched Vanessa leave with her heels in her hand, mascara streaked, muttering something to my mother as they got into a car. Liam stayed behind. He handed me the camera footage and said, "You want me to edit this?" I shook my head. No, just keep it. One day I might. He nodded and left quietly. I poured myself a glass of whiskey, sat on the couch, and let the silence settle like dust. It was over. No more pretending. No more performance. I'd pulled back the curtain, and I hadn't lost myself in the process. For once, they weren't the loudest voices in the room. I was, and I didn't raise my voice to do it. Sometimes, the most powerful revenge isn't destroying someone. It's making sure they finally see themselves.